Hey guys, welcome back to ProductNation, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the OnePlus 8T. Now, this smartphone lies in a very awkward position. It's between being a budget/mid-range smartphone like we've seen so many of, including the Samsung S20 FE edition, which we're going to review very soon, to the more flagship phones like the OnePlus 8. So price-wise, this sits somewhere in between, maybe a little bit closer to the flagship territory, but performance-wise, is it closer to flagship or mid-range budget smartphones? Let's find out in this video.
Let's begin with some good old unboxing. The box on this is significantly larger than a lot of smartphone boxes. You've got the OnePlus branding all over. Getting into the phone itself, you have their motto right there at the front, which is to never settle. Now, getting into the sleeve itself, you've got a bunch of documents to read through and the ejector tool as usual, as well as a selection of stickers that you can put on your phone, your laptop, whatever. Pretty cool when it comes to that. And then we have the phone itself. But before we talk about the phone, let's jump into the box still. You have a clear case with never settle written on it massively. You have the Type-C to Type-C cable that is a little bit thicker actually than the previous generations, as well as a massive 65-watt charger that is able to charge this phone very quick. And then there is the OnePlus 8T. Let's turn on the lights. This looks really great already. Right in the hand, it feels a lot better. The fit in my hand feels better, and overall, I just like how the phone looks visually, very premium.
Now, I've been using the OnePlus 8T for about 2 to 3 weeks, and I feel as a performer, it's pretty great. There is not much you can complain about when it comes to performance and usability in day-to-day. If you're gaming, if you're using social media, browsing the internet, taking a lot of pictures or videos, a lot of smartphones can do that now, and it's a little bit, the gray area starts to come in when you compare between certain price points.
Let's talk about the design and display on the OnePlus 8T. It feels very premium, like I already mentioned in the unboxing, and overall, I really like the texture to it. It feels very nice in your hand, matte finish, so you don't really have that glossy, fingerprinty touch to it. As well as the logos at the bottom and the top kind of have this weird effect with the light. It looks really cool. It looks like a hologram almost in certain angles, so it looks very great overall. In terms of buttons, on the right side, you have that slider still that goes to silent, to vibrate, to loud, as well as the power button, all on the right side, while the left side of the phone has the volume rocker that goes up and down. It's very tactile, feels like it'll last a long time, and very clicky as well, so it's a pretty good build that'll last pretty long. At the bottom, you have a Type-C input as well as the SIM card tray and bottom-facing speakers. This is a stereo speaker system. The display is a gorgeous 6.55-inch AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate and HDR10+. It looks really great in any environment you're looking at it. The colors are punchy, vibrant, and very bright. No matter what circumstance you're looking at it, it can be very bright and sometimes even a bit too bright. So that's great. Within the screen itself as well, you have the fingerprint sensor, which you can set up at the startup of the phone or later. And the fingerprint sensor is very responsive, very fast, and always accurate. I had very less problems with this as opposed to other phones, and I really liked the snappiness and performance of the sensor. At the back of the phone, you have the quad camera setup, which is interesting. The first lens on this is a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, while second is a 48 megapixel main shooter. The third is a macro lens that's 5 megapixel, and lastly, you have a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now, specs aside, let's take a look at the actual image quality and performance. The images that come out right off the bat look very punchy, very saturated, and sharpened overall. The white balance does seem to lean more towards the cooler tones, as well as the HDR performance seems to be very strong in most cases. Even if you put it on auto HDR, the HDR does kick in and it's a little bit aggressive. So as you can see on the Xbox there, the black part is silver because of the HDR control. My shirt is shining a lot as well, so it does expose a little bit higher when it comes to the HDR. Now moving on to the video, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. The video does 4K up to 60 FPS. The colors look pretty good, the contrast levels are really nice, and the exposure looks very good as well. However, the main problem that I had with the video mode, which is something I'm going to elaborate on a little bit later, is the sharpness. I feel like no matter what you're shooting at, 4K, 1080p, the cine format, whatever it is, I noticed it has way too much over sharpening going on, and that kind of ruins the image overall for me, especially when it comes to the video mode. In the camera mode, it takes pretty decent images with the sharpness being a little bit more, but in the video mode, the sharpness just seems very odd and off to me. I wasn't really happy with the video performance within any mode, 1080p, be that 4K, and that was a bit of a problem. The front camera does 1080p, and the video footage looks pretty good. Even the mic, you can hear here. Stabilization wise, it's okay. It's kind of zoomed in, so I'm assuming that's where we get a little bit of stability from. But yeah, overall, it's a little bit punched in, not as wide as some other phones we've seen. Stability, pretty good. The bokeh for the background, decent. My sharpness on the face is pretty sharp as well, so that's pretty good. And that about concludes the camera performance on the OnePlus 8T. I'll talk about this a little bit later. Now, let's talk about the actual performance for gaming, for usability on the OnePlus 8T. The chipset and the processor is able to handle pretty much anything you throw at it without any lag, without any issue. It is using the Snapdragon 865 processor that is top of the line right now and performs incredibly well no matter what you're throwing at it. So if you're gaming, you're utilizing it for pictures, videos, whatever, max graphics, low, high frame rate, doesn't matter. Everything is going to work really well, whether that's social media navigation or just using it for anything that you want to do. It's going to work really well along with that 8GB RAM. Now that RAM works really well as the integration with a battery that can last you up to 7 hours of usage. Like I said, the cables are a lot thicker than they were before, and the Type-C charger allows up to 65 watts charging, and you can pretty much see the animation move with the percentage. That's how fast it really charges with the Warp charger. This isn't really a joke. It actually can go up to 100% within 45 minutes from our testing, and that can last you an entire day very easily.
So what do I think about the OnePlus 8T? I feel like this is slightly more overpriced to be a mid-range / budget smartphone, but the performance you get out of it is significantly close to being a flagship smartphone. You have the Snapdragon 865 that can handle gaming, multitasking, pretty much anything you throw at it, and you won't have any issue with that. You won't face lag ever while using the smartphone. But like I said at the start of the video, the niche market for mid-range and budget phones is so expanded and saturated right now. You can find so many different manufacturers producing for that mid-range, that budget smartphone range, that a phone like this can very easily get drowned out. There's a lot of smartphones out there for cheaper even that can give you the same, if not the better performance compared to something like the OnePlus 8T. That takes us straight to talking about the pros and cons on the OnePlus 8T. Let's begin with the pros because everyone wants to know the pros. Obviously, starting off with the AMOLED screen. The AMOLED on this is very nice. Color reproduction, very good. It's very bright as well, so any condition you're in, you'll be able to see the screen fairly easily. It gets very bright. HDR performance is really good. The 120Hz makes it very fluid, and overall the screen just looks really great, nice and punchy. The second pro on this would be the battery life, and the chargeability is really great, which means you can charge it up to 100% in about 40 minutes. In our testing, it was about 45 minutes, but that is very quick charge. You can actually see the percentage move. You can get about 6 to 7 hours of usage and still be left with 10% or 5% at the end of the day, which is pretty good when it comes to battery usability. Now let's talk about the cons on this, and the biggest one I have personally is the cameras. Now, strictly visually, just looking at the camera module, it looks like an upgrade over the OnePlus 8, right? So they have made improvements when it comes to the software processing of images, but the hardware has remained the same. The images look punchier, more contrasty, like you guys already saw. However, the main struggle I had is not with the images, it's more with the video. I feel like the video processing on this wasn't really the greatest. I've tried out a lot of smartphones recently, but this one still lacks with the video performance. You have higher resolutions, higher frame rates, but the processing overall just looks off. Now let's talk about who is this phone really for, and should you be buying the OnePlus 8T? Like I said, there's a lot of smartphones in that same range on the market right now, and this is a consideration that you really need to make while considering all of these other smartphones. Now, if you're looking for a very smooth smartphone with an all-around great performance, Snapdragon 865, 120Hz refresh rate with great colors, AMOLED display to consume content on, watch videos on, just a basic all-around great performer with good battery life, fast charging, then the OnePlus 8T is a great option for that. But if you're someone who likes to take a lot of pictures and videos, I don't think this is something I would recommend to you, because at this price point, you could find something a little bit better that takes better pictures, has better processing, and overall just is a better camera smartphone. So if you're someone who takes a lot of videos with your smartphone, this is definitely not for you. So all in all, we really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and do consider subscribing for more content just like this, and we'll see you again in the next video.